In 2025, while we debate politics on social media, there's a place where being friendly with the wrong person is a death sentence. No trial, no defense, just a public execution scheduled for 9 a.m. Tonight, you'll hear from a high-ranking North Korean official whose family was condemned to die not for what they did, but for who they knew. This is a story about the night everything went silent. The guards disappeared, the doors unlocked, and the family had one choice: run or die at dawn. If these stories matter to you, please subscribe and hit the notification bell. Your support helps us bring these untold stories to light. Together, we can be a voice for those who cannot speak. A high-ranking North Korean official's family was placed on the public execution list. But that night, something strange happened. The hallway was empty. No guards, no sounds, and the door. It wasn't even locked. Tomorrow meant public execution. They had one choice left. What happened that night? It all started like this. Fall 2024, Mansu District, Pyongyang. I was a senior official in the party organization and guidance department. Every morning, I went to the office, attended meetings, reviewed reports. Just another day. Our family was privileged, even by Pyongyang standards. We lived in a luxury apartment. Our kids attended Pyongyang's most elite school. One son, one daughter. Kim Yo-jong's children went to the same school. It was parent-teacher conference day. I ran into Kim Yo-jong in the auditorium. "The children seem to be doing well," I said. "Yes, thankfully," she replied. "Just parents making small talk at the same school." We met often for work, too. Conference rooms, official events, sometimes informal gatherings. Back then, it was just work, just doing what I was told. Evenings, I came home. My wife had dinner ready. The kids talked about school. "Dad, I got 100 on my math test," my son bragged. "Good job," I said. Sometimes my mother joined us for dinner. My father, a Korean War veteran, passed away early. My mother lived alone, but close enough to visit often. Everything was calm, no problems. Then that summer, something odd happened. A colleague from my department vanished overnight. Monday morning, he didn't show up. His phone was dead. His house was empty. A few days later, someone whispered in the hallway, "He's on the list." I didn't ask what list. Asking was dangerous. A week later, another one disappeared. A section chief from a different department. He didn't show up for the morning meeting. His seat sat empty. No one explained why. No one asked. That night I couldn't sleep. I stared out the window. Pyongyang's skyline looked beautiful as ever. High-rise apartments twinkling with lights. The silhouette of the Ryugyong Hotel in the distance. Everything seemed peaceful. But something was wrong. The air felt heavy. People's glances grew cautious. Everything was quietly changing. A month later, something stranger happened. Kim Yo-jong didn't show up to a meeting I attended. She never missed those meetings. The room felt tense. Everyone seemed to know something, but no one spoke. After the meeting, as I walked down the hallway, a senior official brushed past me and whispered, "Be careful." I couldn't ask what he meant. He was already walking away, and people were around. That evening, I told my wife, "Something's wrong." She asked, "What is it?" I couldn't answer. I didn't know myself. But something felt off. Something big was happening, and it wasn't unrelated to us. I didn't know then. The crack had already reached our feet, and soon that crack would swallow us whole. We were close to Kim Yo-jong. What seemed like a blessing would become a curse. 4 a.m. the next day. The sound of the door breaking woke me up. The front door burst open. Footsteps flooded the hallway. Before the lights came on, the bedroom door flew open. State security. They ordered us up. Our entire family was dragged out. No explanation. No reason. My wife clutched the children. The kids burst into tears, terrified. They didn't even give us time to dress properly before shoving us into a car. Pyongyang passed by outside the window. The sun hadn't risen yet. Where we were going, why we were taken, no one told us. We arrived at a temporary detention facility, not a formal prison. One of those places used for just a few days. They put the family in one room together. A cramped space. Cold floor. No windows. My wife was trembling. The kids kept crying. The next morning, interrogation began. They dragged me into a room. A stack of documents sat on the table. The interrogator asked if I belonged to Kim Yo-jong's faction. I didn't understand what he meant. I was just a party official. We met for work, that's all. The interrogator started flipping through documents. He called them internal reports. Someone had submitted them to the supreme leader. The content was simple. A separate loyalty network was forming around Kim Yo-jong. The report listed names, my name, my wife's name, even my children's names. I saw the names of colleagues who'd disappeared months ago. Everyone was on the list for the same reason. Being close to Kim Yo-jong, that was it. Did you meet her at the school event? Did you see her at informal gatherings? Did you have frequent contact for work? All of it was true, but none of it was a crime. It was just work. Just parents at the same school. The interrogator's tone sounded like the conclusion was already made. He wasn't looking for evidence. He was just confirming. I went back to the room. My wife asked what happened, but it was hard to explain. How could I? We were on the list, just because we were close to Kim Yo-jong. On the second day, I heard other families crying in the hallway. We weren't the only ones here. More people were on the list. That afternoon, a staff member brought food. Before closing the door, he whispered quietly. This time, there would be no trial. It took me a few seconds to understand what that meant. No trial meant public execution. The supreme leader had given the order. Only one person could give that order. That night, I realized something. This wasn't punishment. This was elimination. Someone had fabricated a false report to pressure Kim Yo-jong and submitted it to the supreme leader. There was no actual conspiracy. Just jealousy and competition within the power structure spun into lies. We were just close to Kim Yo-jong. We met for work, at school events, naturally. But in the power struggle, that became a crime. Being in a position easily categorized as Kim Yo-jong's faction, that alone was enough. Someone used us to pressure Kim Yo-jong. The supreme leader believed the report. On the third day, an announcement blared from the loudspeaker. Notice of public trial and execution. Tomorrow at 9 a.m. I looked at my wife. She was holding our child. Tomorrow, we'd be shot in front of thousands. There was no reason, no trial, no explanation. We were just targets in someone's power game. Tomorrow at 9 a.m., public trial and execution will be carried out. The loudspeaker echoed through the detention facility walls. The moment I heard those words, I looked at my wife. She was holding our child. Tomorrow, we'd be shot in front of thousands. The kids didn't fully understand. They only knew their parents were scared. My daughter asked if we were going home tomorrow. I couldn't answer. How could I? Tomorrow, we wouldn't be in this world. By afternoon, the hallway grew chaotic. Crying erupted from other rooms. We weren't the only ones being executed. Every family on the list had received the same notice. How many would die tomorrow? 10? 20? More? The sun began to set. There were no windows, but I could tell from the dimming hallway lights. Our last night. Tomorrow morning, it would end. My wife and I sat facing each other. The kids had fallen asleep, exhausted. We looked at each other in silence. What should I say? I'm sorry? I love you? Every word felt meaningless. Tomorrow, it would end. What did we do wrong? My wife asked quietly. I couldn't answer. We hadn't done anything wrong. We were just close to someone. That became a crime. In someone's power game, we became targets. Tomorrow, we'd be shot in the square. I thought of my mother in Pyongyang. She probably didn't know yet that we were locked up here, that we'd die tomorrow. Someday, she'd hear the news. Her son's family executed for treason. Would she believe it? Or would she think we were innocent until the end? Night deepened. Usually roll call would come at this hour. Guards would check head count, make sure everything was fine. But something was off. No roll call. The hallway was quiet too. Normally, I'd hear guards' footsteps. But there was nothing. Silent, as if everyone had vanished. It must have been around 2 a.m. Still no sounds. It was time for the guard shift, but no footsteps. Strange. Too quiet. I approached the door. I pressed my ear against it. No sounds from the hallway. Were there even guards? Or had everyone gone somewhere? I tried the handle gently. I thought it would be locked. It should have been locked. But something was wrong. The handle turned. My heart pounded. The door wasn't locked? That couldn't be right. This was a room holding people scheduled for execution tomorrow. Was it a mistake or a trap? I opened the door just slightly. Through the crack, I could see the hallway. The lights were on, but no one was there. No guards. No patrols. Silent. My wife was watching from behind me. Our eyes met. She felt it too. Something wasn't right. This wasn't coincidence. Then I felt it. Someone was helping us. I didn't know who, but it was clear. Someone had deliberately loosened the control. It felt like they were saying something. If not now, there's no chance. My wife squeezed my hand tight. She whispered quietly, "Honey, if not now, we all die." Tomorrow meant public execution. The night before, we had to choose. Stay here and die tomorrow, or disappear now. That night was strange. No roll call came. Guards didn't move. The corridors stayed open. Everything was quiet, as if someone had deliberately loosened the control. My wife and I locked eyes. Without words, we both knew. If not now, there'd be no chance. Tomorrow, it would end. We quietly woke the children. I put my finger to my lips, signaling silence. I opened the door carefully. The hallway was still empty. Lights on, but no one there. We walked step by step, holding our breath. Going down the stairs felt like an eternity. When we reached the rear exit on the first floor, that door was open too. We stepped outside. The cold wind of 3 a.m. hit our faces. We turned into the alley behind the building. A car was there. A black sedan sat quietly, lights off. My heart stopped. Was this a trap? Or was someone really helping us? The car door opened. A man opened the back door and gestured. Get in. No words. We had no choice. Stay here and get caught, or take the car and go somewhere. We got in. All 4 of us in the back seat. The man sat in the driver's seat and started the engine. The car pulled away quietly. No one spoke. The man just drove. The car left Pyongyang and headed north. Through the window, Pyongyang gradually disappeared. High rises, the Taedong River, the tower of the Yuche Idea, all faded behind us. My last view of Pyongyang, the sun rose. The car kept going. The landscape began to change. More mountains, smaller villages, fewer people. The kids fell asleep, exhausted. My wife held them. Hours later, around afternoon, the car began to slow. We were near the border. In the distance, I could see a river, the Yalu River. The car stopped on a deserted road. No one around. The man turned and showed his face properly for the first time. Middle-aged, expressionless. You see that river? Cross it tonight. He pulled out a small backpack from the back seat and handed it over. I could feel the weight. Clothes, bread, a little money. I asked who he was, why he was helping. He shook his head. Don't ask. I don't know either. We got out. The man said one last thing. The patrols thin out at night. Cross then. The car turned and vanished. The man never looked back. We hid in the woods near the riverbank. I opened the backpack. A few sets of clothes, 2 pairs of shoes, Chinese money, and bread. Someone had prepared this carefully. Who helped us? Kim Yo-jong? One of her aides? I couldn't know. But one thing was clear. Someone saved us. Deliberately loosened control, prepared a car, brought us to the border. It felt like they were saying, at least escape alive. The sun began to set. We fed the kids bread and waited for night. The Yalu River lay before us. Cross that river, and we'd be in China. Cross that river, and we'd survive. Night came. Pitch darkness. Even the moon was hidden behind clouds. Good. The darker, the better. We'd have to carry the kids. We moved slowly toward the river. The sound of water grew closer. The Yalu River. Cross that river, and it would be China. Cross that river, and we'd live. Patrol lights moved in the distance. Searchlights. Dogs barking. My heart pounded. We waited forever for the lights to move away. I could barely breathe. The lights shifted to the other side. Now, we crept down to the riverbank. One wrong step on a rock, one sound, and it was over. The water touched my feet, bone-chilling cold. Mid-February. The ice had only just melted. My wife carried our daughter. I carried our son. We entered the water slowly. Step by step, carefully. Water rose to our knees, then our waists. My whole body felt frozen. My son clung to my neck, trembling but making no sound. Good kid. Halfway across the river, the water reached my chest. The riverbed was slippery. Every step required caution. Then the lights came back. The searchlight was moving fast toward us. I whispered, "Get down!" We lowered ourselves into the water, up to our necks. The kids barely had their noses above water. The light came closer, sweeping across the surface. The moment it passed directly over us, we held our breath. My heartbeat was so loud I thought they'd hear. Dogs barking grew closer. A dog on the riverbank kept barking. Maybe it had caught our scent. Footsteps, too. Patrols walking along the bank. We couldn't move in the water. We just held our breath. Cold water pierced through us. The kids trembled but made no sound. Time felt eternal. Then the footsteps faded. The barking grew distant. The light moved elsewhere. We were alive. We started moving again. Kept crossing. The water began to shallow. Waist, knees, ankles. The opposite bank drew closer. Finally, we stepped on land. Chinese soil. We'd crossed the Yalu. We'd left North Korea. I looked back. Searchlights still moved on the North Korean riverbank. They didn't know yet that we'd escaped. They'd find out tomorrow morning, when we didn't show up at the execution grounds. My wife collapsed. The kids fell to the ground, too. Everyone was exhausted. Our wet clothes were freezing. Cold. I opened the backpack and pulled out dry clothes. Changed the kids first. They were shaking but didn't cry. We entered the woods. Had to get away from the riverbank. After walking about an hour, I saw a small cabin. Looked abandoned. I opened the door and we went in. At least it blocked the wind. We sat on the floor. The kids nestled in my arms. My wife sat beside me. We were alive. We survived. But it wasn't over. This was China. Here, we were still illegal. Get caught, and we'd be sent back to North Korea. That would be the end. We had to go farther. We had to reach South Korea. But now we needed rest. The kids, my wife, me, we'd all reached our limit. I closed my eyes. Tomorrow, we'd walk again. To survive. The next morning, I opened the cabin door and looked outside. Chinese soil, but not freedom. Here, we were still illegal. We could be caught any time. Get caught, get sent back to North Korea, and it was over. The kids said they were hungry. We shared the remaining bread from the backpack. Not much left. We had to move. Find an ethnic Korean village. Avoiding main roads, we walked through mountain paths, along rice. Paddy ridges, hiding. Around afternoon, a small village appeared. I saw Korean signs. An ethnic Korean village. At the village entrance, we met an elderly woman. She looked at us and seemed to understand immediately. People from the north. She waved us to follow quickly and led us to a small house. Don't go outside, she said. Public security patrols the area. We hid in that house for days. The woman brought food, but we couldn't stay forever. We needed to get to South Korea. She said we'd need a broker. For a family of 4, it would cost a lot. I showed her the money left in the backpack. Nowhere near enough. On the third day, the woman rushed in. Public security was searching the village. She led us to an attic. All 4 of us crouched down, holding our breath. Footsteps outside. Public security was going house to house. They entered the woman's house, too. A voice saying harboring defectors meant big trouble. The woman insisted she lived alone. Sounds of rooms being searched. Footsteps came right below the attic. My son was trembling but made no sound. Time froze. Then the footsteps faded. Public security left. A while later, the woman opened the attic and said staying here was dangerous. That night, we had to leave again. We got the address of another ethnic Korean house and walked through the night once more. For a month, we lived like that. House to house, always running. The kids grew thin. My wife was exhausted. I was at my limit, too. How long could we live like this? One day, at an ethnic Korean church, we met a South Korean missionary. He listened to our story and said he'd help. We could get to South Korea via Thailand. If we didn't have enough money, the church would help. Hope appeared. Finally, hope of reaching South Korea. The missionary started preparations, connected us with brokers, planned the route, provided money. Days later, the departure date was set. That night, we got into a car driven by a broker. All 4 of us huddled in the back seat. The car headed south through China. For days, we traveled by car, train, sometimes on foot. We reached the border region, Laos. Here, we had to cross into Thailand. Another border, another escape. We crossed the border at night. Just like the Yalu, holding our breath, trembling. Avoiding Laotian border patrols, we went through the forest. Walked for hours. Finally stepped on Thai soil. We turned ourselves in to Thai police. Told them we were North Korean defectors. We wanted to go to South Korea. The police escorted us to the South Korean embassy. When we arrived at the embassy, I exhaled in relief for the first time. This place was practically South Korean soil. We didn't have to run anymore. At the Thai South Korean embassy, questioning began. We had to explain how we defected. When we came, how we came, why we defected, they asked everything. The consular officer listened to our story, nodding. Days later, the officer called us in again. Something to confirm, he said. We entered a room like an interrogation chamber. The officer had documents spread out. Are these you? Please confirm the names and dates of birth. Our names were written on the documents. My name, my wife's name, our children's names. I confirmed it was correct. The officer's expression was strange, like he wanted to say something but was being cautious. He hesitated a long time before speaking. There was a public execution in North Korea. Mid-February. My heart stopped. Mid-February. The day after we escaped, multiple families were executed. We verified the list. The officer pulled out another document. Looked like an internal North Korean document. I didn't know how he got it, but it listed the names of those executed. I saw the names of colleagues who'd disappeared months ago. Names of people who'd been in the detention facility with us. People on the list for the same reason we were. But our names weren't there. Something strange. Your names were originally on the list, but they were removed on the execution day. It took time to understand what he meant. We were on the list, but removed? The officer continued explaining. According to North Korean intelligence sources, our family was recorded as deceased the night before the execution, listed as having died during detention. So we were excluded from the public execution list, and only the others were executed. According to North Korean records, your family is already dead. My mind went blank. Recorded as dead. That's why we could escape, because we'd been removed from the list. It wasn't suspicious when we didn't show up at the execution grounds. Who did that? Who recorded us as dead, loosened control, prepared the car, let us escape? Was it Kim Yo-jong or one of her aides? I wasn't sure, but one thing was certain. Someone saved us. They couldn't act directly, but they helped in secret. The officers said we could go to South Korea now. The paperwork was ready. Plane tickets were booked. In a few days, we'd be in the Republic of Korea. A week later, we arrived at Incheon Airport. The moment I stepped off the plane, my legs shook. South Korean soil. The Republic of Korea. We didn't have to run anymore. Airport staff guided us. We needed to go to Hanawon, they said. A place for North Korean defector resettlement education. We took a bus. Through the bus window, I saw South Korea. High-rises. Cars. People. Everything was new. Completely different from Pyongyang. We arrived at Hanawon. Staff welcomed us kindly. We were assigned a room, given clothes and supplies. The kids could go to school, they said. That night, I sat in the room looking out the window. I could see stars, the same stars as in North Korea. But here, we could see them freely. My wife sat beside me. The kids were asleep. We looked at each other in silence. We survived. We made it. We spent months at Hanawon. Relearned Korean. It was different from North Korean speech. Different accent. Different words. The kids adapted quickly, but my wife and I needed time. We received social adaptation training. How to use banks, transit cards, the internet, everything was new. Things we couldn't have imagined in North Korea. We left Hanawon and settled in a small apartment. Government provided. Cramped, but it was our home. Our free home. The kids started attending South Korean schools. It was hard at first. They got teased for their accents, but over time they adapted, made friends. One day I went to a mart. I was shocked at the overflow of goods. In North Korea, even black market goods were scarce. But here, you could buy things 24 hours a day. I searched for North Korean news online, found reports about that day's public execution, stories of people who'd been on the list with us. My chest ached. We survived, but they died. I thought of my mother in Pyongyang. She must think we're dead. According to North Korean records, we are. If unification happened someday, could I see my mother? Would she still be alive? Every night I wondered, who saved us? Kim Yo-jong? One of her aides? I'll never know. But one thing's certain. That night, someone didn't stop us. They deliberately let us escape. I wanted to share this story with you. The reality of North Korea. The pain of defection. The preciousness of freedom. If this story helped, please subscribe and like. Share it so more people can know the truth about North Korea. Now I live freely in South Korea. The kids are building dreams at school. My wife has found her smile again. We survived. Someday, when unification comes, I'll go see my mother in Pyongyang. I'll step on my homeland again. I desperately hope to see unification in our generation. Everyone, freedom isn't free. It's protected by someone's sacrifice and courage. Don't forget how precious that is. Thank you for listening to the end.